Even though I've been playing BTD6 since before they added contested territory, this is actually my first time playing a CT event, and the only reason I got talked into it is because I'm on the same team as Quincy and Obyn. That's not even a joke either. If you look on the team roster here, you can see that the lineup includes Quincy, Obyn, the Spirit of Corvus, and a Druid. Also, surprisingly enough, Obyn and Quincy have Instagram accounts. Links will be in the description, go follow them. Anyway, I had never played CT before, so I had no idea what to expect. Fortunately, I was placed on a decent team and we had a major lead as of the first day. Unfortunately, it seemed like most of the tiles around me were time attack events, which is basically the CT version of races, and unfortunately, I'm not racist enough to be good at those. Okay, I don't think that's the right word, but whatever. But thankfully, there were also some least tier events I could try, and thus begins the chronicle of contested territory with Quincy and Obyn, day 1. So I decided to start off with a least tiers event to see what I could do. Unfortunately, this tower selection was kinda garbage, but I figured if I used a sniper for the camo and a boomerang to take care of everything else, I would be fine. Unfortunately, I forgot that Psy could deal with camo, so I really wasted a tier on camo detection for the sniper. For the most part, this run wasn't remarkable at all. It was just medium mode on end of the road. But unfortunately, even though I was chilling at 9 tiers for most of it, I did end up having to buy another one for the Moab because a 110 sniper was not enough. So yeah, looking back in hindsight, I could have saved a tier by not grabbing camo for the sniper, but oh well, it was the first event of the day. I had 3 more to go before I ran out of tickets, so we were doing fine. So after clutching up what could have easily been 9 tiers in 10 because I'm just built different, I decided to do another least tiers event to see if I could do better. It was at this point that I realized relics exists, and specifically for this run, the one that lets you use Thrive twice. This will come in handy later. So I was planning on doing some setup with the boomerang and the super monkey because the super monkey has a lot of firepower without many tiers, but then I learned you couldn't sell towers, so that made things tricky because I was planning to sell the super monkey for a glaive lord. At this point, I was very quickly learning that contested territory was very strange, especially with all the tower restrictions. And by the power of super monkeys and boomerangs, I sent all these bloons back to the Shadow Realm. I only was using 9 tiers at the moment, but I knew I would need at least 2 more. Unfortunately, on round 51, I ran into a problem. Apparently a tier 2 super monkey can't deal with a bajillion camo ceramics. Who would have guessed? I was able to get the glaive lord, but not soon enough. At first, I thought I would be okay because I exited out in time, and then I found out that CT only saves to the nearest 20 rounds, so I had to restart from round 40. I was very quickly realizing just how cursed this mode actually was. I was enjoying it, but it was admittedly a bit difficult to pick up. The rest of the run was pretty easy, especially since through the power of relics, I was able to use Thrive on round 47, and again on round 49, and just like that, I was able to get the glaive lord at the end of round 50, and I completely won because the glaive lord's actually good now for some reason. Big surprise here, another least tiers tile. I was originally not planning to put this clip in, but I decided to put it in because I was actually pretty proud of the results of this one. I beat it in only 5 tiers. Once I had Rosalia down, I got a monkey ace, and I was originally planning to go for Neva mistargeting, but then I realized that didn't have camo detection, so I got camo, and then I realized, what if I just went one more and beat this with Bomber Ace? Now, for obvious reasons, I regretted that decision pretty quickly because Bomber Ace really is not that powerful, which makes sense because it's both the cheapest and weakest ace tier 3. But with Rosalia's abilities, I was able to clutch it up with some help from the CT gods. And just like that, my most impressive least tiers score for today and my final one for day 1 of CT. Great news, YouTube, finally a run that isn't least tiers. This one was least cash, and the best part about it is that it didn't happen. I mean, what are you talking about? I definitely didn't play this run. And even if I did play this run, I definitely did not lose on round 50 and then end up putting up the worst score in existence. You have no proof of that. Day 2 of contested territory, and I just learned something unfortunate. Apparently when you set a score on a tile, it starts decaying immediately, meaning that if I set a 5 tier score, it's eventually going to degrade until it's down to like 15 tiers or whatever, and then the tile's going to become neutral again. So basically, once you capture a tile, the score keeps getting worse until it becomes neutral, and then it can be captured by anyone. Of course, the flip side of that is that other teams get their tiles weakened as well, so you can capture them more easily, so it's just an interesting system overall. I like it. Now, this least tiers one was pretty boring, so I decided to just skip it. I only wanted to show this end clip here because I wanted to showcase the fact that I beat it in 4 tiers. I was pretty sure at the time that better than that wasn't possible. I ended up being wrong, but that's for later in the video. At this point, our team was still very much in the lead, and I decided to extend that lead even further by doing a boss tile. Now, for those wondering, a boss tile is just like a standard boss event, except you only have to beat 1 tier of the boss, you usually can't farm, and the loadouts are usually crap. Thankfully, I had relics to make this slightly less painful, but I mean, look at this tower loadout. The only farming available was the rubber to gold. Now, is rubber to gold good farming? Kind of. Is it good enough to get the kind of money you need to kill bloonarius in 8 seconds like I used to do in ranked? Not a chance in hell. This setup is also lacking this small little thing known as damage towers, mainly because I can't afford any ace tier 5s and there's no way Operation Dartstorm is going to be taking down bloonarius and dealing with the ceramic rushes. Basically my only options here are an Apache dart ship or maybe some kind of super monkey. And in another episode of Shadow being an idiot, which happens way more often than I would like to admit, it turns out I was wrong about rubber to gold. I actually made a ton of money with it and I think I'm finally ready for this boss. I decided to go with Robo Monkey because of Apache Prime because Robo Monkey is slightly cheaper and also because it would be able to deal with the ceramics with the double targeting. And I mean, look at that DPS. With the crits, it's actually doing some boss damage. And once I got lasers and plasma, it would be doing a lot more to the point where I'm pretty sure it could solo both the boss and the ceramics. Of course, I had Churchill as backup, but unfortunately he wouldn't be able to do much because he doesn't have Moab Barrage. We have the first wave of ceramics from the bloonarius, and surprise, surprise, the Robo Monkey actually looks like it's handling it. Just a few more hits and it's all gonna be destroyed. Especially now that I have plasma, nothing is getting past this. We are down to the last bloonarius skull, and I decided to get Operation Dartstorm to help out because missiles are cool, and also because they do some damage, but clearly not enough. I am at over 3 minutes for this bloonarius. This is really bad as a ranked player who's used to killing this thing in about 7 seconds. This next boss event was slightly better than the last one, mainly because there was actually some farming towers. Unfortunately, the real damage tower was basically limited to the Spike Factory and the hero's Etienne. Now, there's nothing wrong with Etienne except for the fact that he's pretty weak against bosses, and he's French. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't really have any problem with him being French. Don't kill me in the comments, alright? Honestly, I didn't always hate Etienne, but I think this moment here where he lost to round 4 and made it to where I had to back out to avoid penalties kind of radicalized me. I don't like the dude anymore. Also, side note, looking at the map real close like this is cool. It's crazy how 3D everything looks. I just really like that. Luckily, this event went better than last one because I was able to farm. Of course, when I say better, I mean worse because apparently the 420 Glue Gunner, also known as the tower built to delete ceramics, is actually really bad at deleting ceramics. Who would have guessed? Not me. I mean, it turned out okay in the end. I pulled off a decent time. I figured it wouldn't be a while before this one got recaptured. Anyway, after beating that boss and then doing a least cash event that was so unmemorable it's not even worth talking about, we move on to Contested Territory Day 3. So when I hopped into Contested Territory for Day 3, I saw one of my teammates somehow sniped my 4-tier score and replaced it with a 3-tier, and honestly, I'm not even mad, I'm just impressed. But the other, far more tragic thing I noticed is that the other teams had taken way more tiles. I decided this wasn't okay, so I went on a quest to take them back. And finally, tile decay was starting to work in my favor because now the score had decayed to the point where I only needed to beat 24,000 for least cash, which wouldn't be that hard. Especially since I basically had a cheat code relic that basically made camo a non-threat for this entire run. And if I'm being honest, the camo trap relic is kind of necessary because for some reason, even though Rosalia is apparently the really good tinkerer, she didn't figure out how to invent camo goggles, even though snipers have had that technology for years. But anyway, this is a Contested Territory vid, not a Rosalia video, so I'm not going to be talking about her too much. I originally wasn't sure what to go with for this run, but then I realized that the Moab shelf was actually a pretty decent tier 3 for not being too expensive, and with a druid for cleanup, I was able to undercut the cost by almost 14,000. However, in a truly tragic turn of events, the boss tile I captured the day before had been taken from me by DN dumbasses. What kind of team name is that, bro? Like, genuinely. So I'm kind of starting to realize that some of these teams aren't that good. I mean, look at this event, 59 tiers for Quiet Street up to round 47. And I mean, sure, there was decay. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's say they maybe did it in 30 tiers originally. Heck, I'll even be generous and say they did it in 25. That's a good score, right? Anyways, I beat it in 12. Moving on from Absolute Annihilation, we had Absolute Annihilation Part 2. This time in the form of FaZe, aka the easiest boss. Like, I'm not even kidding, unless there's a bunch of crazy modifiers or whatever, it really isn't that difficult to beat FaZe. A lot of towers have camo detection, plus it doesn't have any bloon sends or anything, and no weird, like, buffs or whatever. I will admit, it is a bit annoying that it warps forward and that it teleports bloons to it and camos them, but other than that, it's really not that bad to deal with. It's always nice when the boss is easy enough that you can ruin its entire existence with a summoned phoenix and a sticky bomb. Not many bosses you can do that. So continuing with the trend of absolutely obliterating Raven's Roost, I found this comically bad least cash score. I mean, even accounting for decay, genuinely, how do you put up a score like that with 80 rounds and no farming towers? The only way I could even think that you could do that bad is if you're just buying and reselling stuff. Like, why? In all honesty, I don't think I could do worse than this score unless I was legitimately trying. But hey, no hate to Raven's Roost. I love them for giving me a free tile. Day 4 of CT was honestly a bit of a disaster. As you can see here, we lost most of the map because green and yellow decided to finally be active. Also, the other problem is that even though I played like 10 runs, only 2 of them actually saved in the recording because my phone sucks. Thankfully, one of the runs that actually saved was my Dread Bloon completion. Now, I'm just throwing this out there, Dread Bloon is objectively the most painful boss to deal with in contested territory, and I will debate over that in the comments if anyone wants to challenge me. And if you're wondering about the reason, there's actually 2, Rock Bloons and Dread Bloon immunities. Because with these limited ass tower selections, there's only so many things you can do to deal with Rock Bloons and only so much you can do to deal with the Dread Bloon itself, especially when it's immune to the category that actually has a damage tower. If I'm being honest, I think my favorite thing about contested territory bosses is how different they are from regular bosses, mainly because most of the things you know about regular bosses, yeah, throw 2/3 of it out the window, it doesn't work here. Farming strats, can't use them 90% of the time. Ranked metas, nope. Everything else, it really does not work. You basically have to come up with an entirely new non-meta strategy, and I honestly like that because it just makes you think about strategies that you wouldn't normally do. Now don't get me wrong, these other strategies are nowhere near as good as the metas, and that's why you don't see 8-second times in contested territory for one tier of a boss, but it definitely does make it more interesting and more fun to play around with. I enjoy the experimenting. But yeah, the cool thing about tile decay in contested territory is that no matter how bad you are at beating Dread Bloon, there's no way you could possibly do worse than the 48-minute time that got set, especially if you have good towers, which I didn't have good towers, but still 48 minutes was not a hard time to beat. Up to this point, I had been avoiding time attack events as long as possible, but I eventually decided it was time for me to finally see how racist I really am. I seriously don't think that's the right word here. What is the right word for someone who does time attack tiles? I don't even know. Drop it in the comments, please. Now, I have to admit, time attack events are actually kind of fun, but I don't think I'll be playing many of them. Why? Because I'm really fucking bad at them. Luckily, I eventually found a time attack strat that works 100% of the time, except for the times it doesn't. But anyway, the strat is place towers, send some bloons, get some money, place more towers, send more bloons, win, and profit. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a professional. Days 5 and 6 of contested territory were the ultimate turning point for me. Before that, I was just checking out the various tiles and seeing what there was. But now, I was on a quest. Because I looked at the leaderboard and saw that I was in 3rd. And that didn't sit right with me. I realized that I actually wanted to win this. And if I couldn't win this, then I would beat every other team in the process. This quest could be summed up in one word. Vengeance. It was at this time that I remembered the words of the great Max Level Adot when he talked about contested territory and having a nemesis.
Teach you how to properly arch your arch in BTD6. Step 1, find your arch. Done. Step 2, harass them. Killer 7933, more like I'm going to kill you with 79 swings to the back of the head with a lint roller. Then drive 33 miles to dump your body on the Venture compound. Alright, done. But actually, where is the Venture compound? Colorado! Step 3, beat them. I'll do that later once I beat this goddamn raid!
Max Level Dot is actually funny as hell and basically the only reason I'm a Bloons tuber in the first place. But anyway, we have Upland Button 903. Seemingly a normal person, but they're beating me on the contested territory leaderboard, and that's not okay. But after a bit of investigating, I found out that they're on Team Schnookums, also known as the Purple Team, and that this guy's also the one basically controlling all the purple tiles. And now, I was determined to hit all those purple tiles harder than a fat man hit Japan in 1945. Starting off the revenge arc, we have a least cash tile. Least cash, more like least amount of suffering on my part as I absolutely obliterate your score with the power of wizards. Get wrecked. Oh, what's this? Another least cash tile? That's cool, I guess. Sniper Monkey, go! Destroy these bloons! Now that I think about it, there's a lot of things in contested territory that can apply to real life. For example, my ex-wife always got mad at me when I got the cheapest thing possible when we went to a restaurant. It's not my fault she didn't realize it was a least cash tile. And like, bro, she always got mad at me for finishing too quickly. It's not my fault that she didn't know our house was located on a freaking time attack tile. Like, bro, just bad placement, alright? Nothing I can do about it. For those wondering about boss tiles are basically you asking your mom to get you a PlayStation, and the race time is how quickly you can finally convince her to buy it. If you lose, it means you didn't convince her. And finally, least tears tiles are actually a least tears challenge, where you try to cut up as many onions as possible without crying. I don't know, I couldn't think of anything for that one. Leave something in the comments if you thought of something better. And will you look at that, I'm winning this tile too, undercutting it by 15 tiers. Upland Mutton 903, more like I'm gonna travel upland, turn you into mutton, and then take 903 of your tiles. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Phineas and Ferb. It's a good show. All I can say is that it's a good thing Dr. Doofenshmirtz was German and not Austrian, or the villain arc would have been a lot worse. All I know is that if he played this game, he would probably build like a CT tile capture-inator or something like that. But you know what? I don't need the CT tile capture-inator. I am the CT tile capture-inator. Get screwed, Upland Mutton. Actually, guys, hang on a second. I have so many clips of me destroying all of Upland Mutton's tiles. What if I just decided to completely disrespect him by making an edit instead of commenting over all of them? You know what? Screw it. That's what I'm gonna do. Also, fun fact, if you like and subscribe right now, you will get 20% better luck in the next CT event you play. Anyway, let's do this. And I forgot how much I enjoy moments like that. Also, just a bit of strategy advice. If you have a least cash tile with Churchill on it, use Churchill. You can probably beat the tile for like $2,000. You probably don't need any other defense. Thank me later. Also, technically, I was still behind this dude on the leaderboard, but he had no tiles left, and I mean none. He was definitely gonna get crushed. It was inevitable. If I'm being honest, Contested Territory Day 7 was basically a victory lap. I didn't take it too seriously. After all, Upland Mutton 903 had successfully been turned into 903 pieces of mutton and put in my inventory. And thanks to Quincy, Obyn, Drippy Joe, and the rest of the Contested Territory team, we easily won, beating the other teams by over 50k points total. So shout out to them for the epic results, shout out to Drippy Joe's meme page for being absolutely awesome, go check that out by the way, and shout out to Upland Mutton 903 for giving me a revenge arc and letting this video be way more interesting. If you see this video, I'm sorry, man. Now what am I sorry for exactly? Sorry for making you think I was actually sorry. I never apologize for my flawless victories. Anyway, final thoughts here. Contested Territory as a mode is pretty cool, but definitely tiring to make videos on. If this video gets 500 likes, I might consider making another one though. Anyway, if you're still watching, thank you so much. Make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 1,000 by the end of July, so anything helps. Anyway, don't forget to use my creator code. Make sure to stay hydrated, and I hope you have a great day.